I'm Yunsup. I am very honored to give you the RISC-V Technical Committee update as the RISC-V Technical Committee Chair. It's really exciting to see how far RISC-V has come. I think it's just the start. A quick shout out, I'd like to introduce Silvio, who is the RISC-V Technical Committee Vice Chair. Where are you? It's that guy over there. All right, so let's jump right in. So there's the charter of the RISC-V Technical Committee. So we will maintain a roadmap of the RISC-V ISA so that as company members, you can plan ahead for your products to see when certain features are going to come online. We will provide and maintain at least one golden simulator for the RISC-V ISA. Currently, Spike is serving that, but there might be some other things that come in the future. We will provide and maintain a set of verification validation tests to ensure conformance of RISC-V keep evolving. We need more people to help us out here. So if you're interested in this task, please come talk to me after the talk. And we will also upstream the software development tools such as the GNU compiler, debugger, the assembler, the LLVM toolchains, and et cetera, and et cetera. And we will also maintain and update a list of hardware implementations of the RISC-V architecture so that if you're a newcomer to the RISC-V architecture, there's at least some kind of map on what's going on. And moving on to the longer term goals, we'd like to establish processes to define and standardize future ISA extensions. So if you have new ideas, there should be a way to standardize your awesome ideas. This needs to be sorted out and communicated to you. We will provide guidelines for platform integration to avoid fragmentation. All of your hard work that's going into building a vibrant software ecosystem should not be thrown away because of fragmentation. We'll try to minimize all that. And we will also set up program committees for future RISC-V workshops to make it the best venue to come and present your work in progress RISC-V work. And this also extends to the academic community as well. So last workshop, we have come up with 7 task groups. The first one is opcode space management. I have photos of each sub-task group chairs, so I will do a quick shout out. So be prepared to wave your hand. This is more of the ISA roadmap group, I'd say. Chris is chairing this group. There is the Privileged ISA Specification group, which is led by Andrew Waterman from SiFive. There is the Formal Specification group, which is headed by Nikhil from Debug Spec. The Debug Specification is chaired by Tim Newstrom from SiFive. And the Security Task Group is chaired by Joe Shi from NVIDIA. And Vector Extensions, also from Krista. The Software Toolchain is chaired by Arun. So among all of these, I'm going to give you some updates. Vector Extensions, there is a full talk tomorrow, so I'm going to skip that one. So opcode management, does everyone know Krista? Yeah, so here's kind of the roadmap of the ISA, the plan. Krista has shared this on the mailing list, but just to reiterate. So here we are in November 2016. We're going to agree and tweak the plan, and we're going to assign more leaders and doers. By February, the foundation will ratify the debug specification. The calling conventions would be fixed and documented, as well as the ELF format. Privileged ISA spec 1.10 will come out to the point, and it will be frozen enough so that the M and S mode changes must be backward compatible after this point. In March, the memory model would be frozen enough to so that all the changes must be backward compatible from this date. In May, 1.11 will come out, and the most of the standard extensions for RV32 and RV64 will be ratified by the foundation. In August, privileged specification 1.12. And in November, the foundation will ratify the V extension and consider ratifying the privileged specification and move it to 2.0 and complete various platform specs so that Linux and KVM can exist. Okay, moving on to the privileged ISA specification task group. Andrew, it's over back there. If you're interested in participating, please come talk to Andrew. So the charter of this task group is to define and specify a unified RISC-V privilege architecture to avoid fragmentation again. So the goals I pretty much talked about, the timelines, the slides will be posted online, so you can go take a look. So the formal specification task group is chaired by Nikhil. It's over there. So the charter is to produce a formal specification that complements the textual English ISA specification, so that there can be, which is implementation independent, high level, executable, and also feeds into formal tools. So the initial target that they're targeting are the I and M, the I base and the M standard extension for RV32 and RV64. They've been wondering whether F and D are necessary since they are IEEE standards. So the status, the basic specs, the models have been written in various different languages. And you heard 2 talks from this morning about the memory models. Okay, moving on to the debug spec, Tim over there is heading the task group. So the charter is to specify a standard way to debug RISC-V cores. So all the downstream debug tools can work across different RISC-V chips as well. So the current status is there are 2 spec proposals. So they could use some insight from people who have actually been implementing these in hardware. They have a meeting on Thursday at 11 a.m. So if you're interested, please come join the discussion. So the goals, as I said, is to ratify it by next February. So the security task group is headed by Joe. It's back there. If you're interested in security, talk to Joe. The charter is to define RISC-V security extensions, the processing model, as well as crypto algorithm instructions, and provide necessary hardware software support according to the spec. So their goal is to come up with a 0.9 specification till the next workshop for review. They have meetings every other Wednesday, 6 to 7 Pacific time. I'm wondering actually whether this is 6 in the evening or 6 in the morning. I can clarify with Joe. They're also having a foundation meeting this Thursday at 1 p.m. So if you're interested, go talk to Joe. So last but not least, the software toolchain task group is headed by Arun. Met Arun before. The charter is to define a standard and easy to use software toolchain for the RISC-V ecosystem. Arun has done a wonderful job documenting the status of various open source software toolchains. You can go check this link, Arun's wiki page, on all the status of the current open source software toolchains. So they are in the process of upstreaming the toolchains. Bin utils have been approved. GCC, glibc are in progress. I think LLVM has been accepted and it's in progress. QEMU has been updated to the most recent privilege specification, creating an AVI specification, and also continue to push on various distribution supports, documentation, and Docker images. So to kind of wrap up my talk, we need your help. So if you are a member of the RISC-V Foundation, you should nominate a person for the technical committee. If you have not done that so far, please contact Rick or myself. Be the point of communication for all technical decisions. So, but if there's something that you want to, any task group you want to participate in and give any contributions at any capacity, or if you have some good idea to start a new task group, your help is really needed. So come talk to the technical committee meeting. It's on Thursday at 8:30 a.m. And finally, thank you for your contribution. It's really exciting to see how far RISC-V has come. And that's about it. I'll be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Any questions about the technical committee and the task groups?
This may be a question for Rick, which is, could you say something about requirements for membership in the foundation to participate in various things here?
Yeah, so in my talk, I had the class of members. So all of these committees, marketing committee, technical committee and underlying task groups, participation in those committees is open to member companies, right? And I've mentioned this at previous workshops. Part of the bylaws that we've written is that no matter what we do in the membership committees, at least one round of public consultation outside the membership needs to take place before any spec can get voted on and ratified. And obviously, any feedback that comes from that public consultation will get dealt with accordingly. So, we're absolutely not trying to create an old boys club where we're all together and in this behind closed doors kind of thing. Trying to strike that balance between inclusive, open participation and a framework where we can actually make progress. The other thing that I'd add is you can have, if you're a member, you can have 5 people participate, from your company, 10 people participate in various task groups. It's only 1 vote per company, right? There's no, you don't get to stack the ballot box, so to speak. So it's not driven by any, so you may have seen, and I get asked this a lot, hey, there's lots of SiFive guys crawling around and all these things. And I go, well, yeah, there is. That's because they're like picking the stuff up and doing the work. So feel free to pick the stuff up and do the work if you'd like. But at the same time, it's still only 1 vote, right? So they don't all get to sit in on a thing and say, yeah, we got 10 people working on something here and we got 10 votes. That's not how it works. Your opportunity to influence this roadmap, these specs, is yours to take up the gauntlet and do it. Question?
One point that I haven't seen in your presentation.
Could you identify yourself, please? Yeah,
Eric Flammen from ETH Zurich. You haven't covered at all the RISC-V qualification process, which is something somewhere sitting in between technical and marketing. Can you elaborate a bit?
Right. So I can give you an answer on the technical question, technical committee side. I said one of the immediate goals is to come up with a verification validation suite to facilitate that process. The other parts, I'm going to leave it to Rick, but we currently need people to help us out build the verification validation suite.
Yeah, so basically, once we have this compliance suite agreed to and developed by the community, that will be the requirement that if you're going to put a RISC-V label on your product, you will have self-selected that you've run this past this, and we're not going to create a certification organization or something like that where we're take your thing here, and then you'll have a license as part of the membership agreement to let you call it a RISC-V device. Anything else? Oh.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, kind of, giving the big picture here, the open source instruction sets is a new thing, right? What we're used to doing is waiting for Intel or ARM to announce some extension and then making fun of them. Those idiots. How could they have done that, right? And so we're kind of a critic community, right? A few people get to do stuff, all the rest of us criticize it. This is different, right? If you just lay back and say, oh, those idiots on RISC-V Foundation haven't done the right memory consistency and then be right till our balls, then this thing will all fail, right? This is a community, and the open source thing, it's not blaming the other guys as critics. You participate, right? So if you have strong opinions on memory consistency, here's your chance to shape the future. I think I'm not bad at calling the shots the future. I think RISC-V is going to be a big thing. Here's your chance to shape what it's going to look like for the next several decades, right? So there's meetings already set up on Thursday. One of the things that's important that haven't been worked on is how do we know if it's a RISC-V, right? Why aren't we working on it? Why aren't those idiots working on it? Because nobody here has volunteered to work on it, right? So this is you're going from critic to synthesis, right? You build stuff rather than complaining about stuff, right? So before you start complaining, participate. Now, right now, you're limited to have to work to one of 50 universities or institutions in the world. So there must be like 100,000 or more people who work for one of those. In the future, you'll be able to not participate that. But there's no shortage of qualified people to work on the committee, but we need people to volunteer. And if you want to volunteer, see these people or hang around on Thursday and show up. But you know, if we're going to make this open source thing happen, which has lots of positive characteristics, you are going to have to volunteer, or your friends are going to have to volunteer and make it happen.
Thanks, Dave.
Yeah.
Well said.